You are listening to Attractive Relationships, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of relationships and communication. I'm Rico Armstrong, your host and advocate for attractive, happy relationships. In a world where relationships play a crucial role in our personal and professional lives, understanding how to communicate to connect with others is essential. Transform your communication skills to increase your social status, your social confidence, and help you gain the best relationships you can have. Welcome to Attractive Relationships.
All right, welcome to another episode of Attractive Relationships. In this episode, we're going to talk about what connection really is, because you hear that term thrown about and nobody's really defined what connection is. As a matter of fact, I'll ask you right now, if somebody says, I want connection, what does that really mean? And so we're going to break that down today, because if you can understand what connection is, you understand how relationships work, and you can make this understanding work for you if you're looking to build a relationship with somebody new or to build a stronger relationships with the ones that you already have. Let's break it down. We're going to break it down in its simplest form. A relationship with you and another person, whether it's romantic, whether it's at work, will probably lean more towards the romantic side of things, because I find that speaking in that terms is a transferable understanding to any relationship. So let's talk about you for a second. When we are just talking about you, you have things, everything that makes up who you are, especially things that affect your emotions. So we're going to talk about your fears or insecurities. We might talk about your true beliefs. And we'll talk about anything that is of value to you. And what I mean by that is things like your family, all right, your significant other, even if you got a pet, your dog that's at home, that's of value to you, and maybe some other opinions that you hold. All of these things kind of make up who you really are. Now, we also have the other person, and they also have fears. They also have beliefs. They also have things that are of value to them. And these are the things that they hold dear to their heart. It makes up who they are. The question is, how do we connect these two? How do we connect you to them? How do we connect the things that you value and you believe and make it match the other person? Typically, what most people will do is they'll make a list. These are the things that are the most important to me, and then that's what you just go out and search for. But that alone is not going to make the connection happen, because as you all know, people can make a good profile. People can come up with a fantastic resume, and that doesn't mean that when you meet that person, there's going to be instant connection. Even if somebody says all the right things, doesn't necessarily mean that there's a connection just because they said it. There's another side of that, and it's about how we make the other person feel and vice versa. And that's where the connection is. So how do we make the other person feel in such a way that we are now connected? And there's one clear answer for that, and that is in communication. How you communicate. So, going back to this analogy, there's you with your fears, your insecurities, your beliefs, and everything that you value. And if somebody wants to connect with you, they are going to have to communicate. And if you're watching on video, this makes a lot more sense. This line represents communication. And before this line of communication can really connect with who you are, I want you to imagine that there is a door right here, right before you get to the core of who you are. How do we unlock this door? We've started this communication. we get to the door, and the key to unlocking the door to who you really are has everything to do with validating your true beliefs, validating the things that you value, and not making you feel worse about whatever insecurities that you may have. Once that happens, that line of communication, it speaks to you. It speaks to you. And all of a sudden, you feel connected to the other person. The awesome thing is it works in reverse too. The other person also has this door that is blocking real connection. And if you can speak to their beliefs and validate them, even if you don't fully agree with them, but if you can validate them and say, you're not crazy for believing what you believe, you're not crazy for valuing the things that you say are important in your life.
Hey guys, real quick, I'd love to connect with you beyond these episodes, which is why I'm excited to tell you that Attractive Relationships recently started an exclusive newsletter just for you. You'll get behind the scenes stories and additional exclusive content to aid in building your personal attractive relationships. So if you'd like to be kept in the loop, simply click the link in the description below the episode.
And even better, if you can articulate these things better than they can themselves, well, all of a sudden, you've unlocked the door to make that connection. And this reciprocal action of continually validating the other person and them validating you is where you start to have connection. Clearly, this is going to be easier if you guys share similar beliefs and if you have similar values. This is easier. However, I would also say that even if there are two people of different backgrounds and different beliefs and different values, they can still feel connected to you, which may be important when, for example, you're in a work setting, it's not romantic. They can still feel connected with you and you to them as long as you validate each other. And I've been saying this a lot because here's what a lot of people end up making the mistake. A lot of people, instead of validating, will end up invalidating. And how do they do that? In a word, they do it. I missed my other marker. Oh, there it is. Through judgment and shame. So, for example, if somebody was to say, I think your beliefs are stupid, all right, and that's the communication that they come up with, they are going to be blocked at the door. It's not going to unlock that communication that leads to connection. If somebody talks to you and makes you feel less than, like you are not good enough to do what you said, I don't think you're going to be able to, that does not unlock the door. And vice versa. This right here makes all the sense. This is how relationships work. This is how connection actually works. The reason why I wanted to bring this up today is because after all the books that I've read, and maybe you've read some books, maybe you've read some blogs, maybe you've seen some videos. So it's like, well, how do you find that connection? And you might find somebody that says, well, you have to ask a lot of questions. And it's like, well, what kind of questions? And then here's a list that never ends of all the different kinds of questions that you should ask. Is that bad? No. But it is a lot to remember. And I'm here to tell you that there's no one magic question that's going to unlock this mystical connection with somebody. Or somebody will say, well, you have to be in the perfect environment for connection. So we are going to have to go out and do something. Maybe you're going to go out and actually bond over food. Or maybe you have to go out and be active. And My drawings are not very great, again, if you're watching on video, but maybe the two of you have to go out and do something active, and this is how you bond, and this is how you create connection. There is some truth to that. However, if we do these things, and if we ask all the questions, but we still mess up on how we communicate, none of that would really ever matter. So, if you are searching for that connection, let's talk about it in a romantic sense. When you're looking for your romantic partner, you have to really understand what your true beliefs are. You have to understand what you really value. And you have to have a really good understanding of what your insecurities are. And your goal, once you understand this about yourself, that will allow you to not only communicate to see if somebody matches maybe what you believe and value, but it's also going to allow you to be a better listener. Because if somebody says something that shames or judges you, you're going to know why you don't feel that connection. And it may be something simple. It may be something harmless, but you'll understand the reason why. And once you know that, my goodness, when we talk about leading with curiosity, when we talk about gaining clarity, it becomes a heck of a lot easier to do that when you know what you're speaking and what you're listening for.
As we come to the end of another episode of Attractive Relationships, I want to express my gratitude to you for tuning in. Your support really does mean the world to me. Now, if this episode brought you any value, I would truly appreciate it if you shared this podcast with anyone that you think could benefit from our discussions on effective communication and relationship building. Until next time, remember, great relationships start with great communication. So stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep building those attractive relationships.